us that we all get to serve together. So a little bit about each one of our roles. Sister Hammond is lead worship leader, and she also is over our Rush music here at the school, which is a huge department that is always growing. And then, you go to have vocal tryouts and you'll have 80 kids wanting to try out for one solo. So, you're cutting and splicing it up. So it is a huge undertaking. And she also assists with all the music scheduling at the campuses. We have right at 8 services a week that we are responsible for scheduling out and overseeing other, and it kind of looks like that flow chart that Pastor Erickson showed yesterday when we could have our own entire flow chart just for our music department. I will try to have that ready for you all next movement. But to see all of the different administrators at all the different campuses and our role, we partnered. There are, like the Sevierville campus, it's the same pastoral team there, same leadership team. So with that campus, we do plan everything out from beginning to end of the services. But then we partner with like our Cleveland campus. We help them intently for probably, I would say, the first 3 months. We committed to them that, hey, we're going to provide you with a music team. And then from there, we approve people and then they make their own music schedule. Same thing. We just launched another campus in Madisonville. And for 3 months, we staffed every part of that church, and then that gave them something to start with. And then same thing with our Spanish work. So she helps oversee all of that. And then Brother Nolan is obviously our lead drummer and School of Music teacher. And so we're going to break down some of those systems today. A lot of the resources that we talk about today is if you scan that QR code, we have been dropping things even in there this morning that I didn't realize was in there. So that file is growing. And you will be able to see that. So the process of joining our music team, I think we're a little bit different in this than probably most churches that I have been to and taught at, is that the choir is the music team. That is the prerequisite to anything music at our church. And that even includes going to other campuses and playing an instrument. If you want to play an instrument at our church, you have to come. Everything comes down out of the loft to the platform. And then if you're not playing on the platform, if I'm not playing, I go right back up and sing in the choir. And so you even see like our senior leadership, First Lady, even with all of her roles, all of her duties, she is very, very intentional about being in the choir, because I do know, and there have been times when I know physically it is a lot for her, especially when any of us, we all have at least 1 or 2 Sundays a month that we go and minister in Sevierville. Getting back for choir is very, very hard. Sometimes we don't always make it to the rehearsal, but the choir does know where we're at. We remind them often, if you don't see pastoral team here, we're running in from either teaching a Bible study. But she is very, very intentional about that. And I'm thankful that she is. She has really, in the infancy of our church, when we were in the house church, it is something that she really dug out of the ground. She does not have, and if she was sitting here, I would say the same thing. She does not have any really musical ability, but she gave God what she had. And God provided her with children that could take a music department, and then obviously amazing son-in-laws and a daughter-in-law. And God's seen her sacrifice and her effort, and God blessed her with a family that can help her. But I can remember as a little girl, 6, 7 years old, I would watch her get ready for a choir practice. It would take her 7 hours, sometimes a full day, to memorize one choir song. And making notes, and she'd have 12 pages of choir music, and I'm so thankful for that. So she's very intentional, because I know if she were to step down, everybody her age and up, we would not have in that choir. So we are really trying to build a generational music department. She's like, I'm going to be up here singing in this choir as long as I'm physically able with my. She already is with her grandchildren, but with her great grandchildren. And so I think that is a great testimony. But so everything starts in the choir and then flows out of there. Then when we're not playing, we go back up into the choir. And there's a lot of intentionality even this week trying to keep the choir together with everybody serving as well. But one thing that I really try to always do is to lead people that are out front singing and playing music, because talent talent's a dime a dozen. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Talent doesn't really mean much. I mean, I love to have talented people, but they're first disciple makers. And so I have found that when we really shifted to only focusing on using people who are disciple makers, all the drama left the music department, because it wasn't about them holding a mic and them singing. It was about them first being a disciple maker. And disciple makers are always in place, you know, because there's season of time where I'm not going to be the lead piano player. And even like Brother Keith Wall, we raised him up. We won him in our daycare that sang last night. He can play. I thought that really he would be able to stay with us, and it hurt my heart, but I knew that we were training him to send him out. But that boy, he can play circles around me. And there's going to be a season of time where there will be people that come into the church. But if I'm first a disciple maker, I'm always going to be in place. So anyway, in the music department, we really focus on using disciple makers. And then we have a handbook that everybody signs as a lifestyle. Not just as, hey, I'm going to abide by this standard when I'm on the platform, but it is a lifestyle handbook. We also drop that into your the resource file as well. But Sister Lauren, I'm going to direct this first question to you. Can you give us just an overview of how we manage the scheduling for all the services, rehearsal schedules, all that fun stuff?
Yes. Check. I'm not okay here now. I'm not going to throw nothing. All right. We schedule our services a month out. So currently I do the Sunday night and Wednesday night set list, and she'll do the Sunday morning set list. We try to keep a note file of like anything new that we want to do. So whenever I'm making those set lists, I can go and we collaborate on that and share ideas. We only average about 2 off-night practices a year. And those are typically like to get ready for, Easter or Christmas concert or something like that. We learn all new material before church on Sunday morning and Wednesday night. And our team comes prepared. They already know the song. That way, when we get in there, we hit that track, and all we're going to do is spend our time just tweaking parts and, if we want to add something or change something. Some schedules will be a duplicate of another schedule. So like our Sunday morning schedule and our Sevierville afternoon schedule will be the same. So we'll get the Maryville schedule ready first, and then we'll send that out to the other campus directors so that they can plug in their teams at the other campuses. Our schedule consists of a rehearsal admin. This person is in charge of making sure the practice starts on time. They're in charge of resolving any kind of issue that may arise, making sure the practice ends at a certain time, that everyone goes to prayer immediately after. They're also in charge of filling any kind of position that might be open. So we have 8 loft singers, 9 frontline singers, a full band, and band director. And something kind of cool, with having that ability to have that many singers, we have 8 loft singers. So I've noticed that some of our students will come and they know if someone doesn't show up, we're not going to let a microphone be open. So we'll be like, hey, come up here, you fill this mic. And so it's kind of cool. It creates this thing where they'll come and sit through practice, maybe have a chance to get up there. So that's something kind of cool. We try to use a different team every service. Some teams consist of the same people, but for instance, you might sing frontline one service, you might be in the loft on a different service. But this just creates the thing where nobody gets married to one thing. This is not your permanent spot. We're all kind of in this rotation. So, and that really gives us the freedom to plug new people in, or, younger students coming up that we can use them.
Awesome. And I think that rehearsal at Men, one thing that we really work to do as well is try not to have everybody communicating back to the soundboard, because that can be super overwhelming for whoever's back there. But that one rehearsal administrator needs to have some conflict resolution skills to be able to resolve that conflict and because I'm telling you, if you have a chaotic and people getting miffed at each other and everything, start your rehearsal with prayer. Invite the presence of God down into that practice. Right. And we'll talk about this a little bit later. I think we're going to touch on sarcasm a little bit on the platform. But it is something that I remember my mom bopping that on the head, whenever I was a young music director. And because everything would be like, hey, we need to fix this part. And the tenors would be like, ooh, burn, I'd be like, okay, guys, wait a minute. But I can remember her, she just kind of stopped and have a little come to Jesus meeting right there.
Yeah.
And we all remembered while we were there doing what we're doing. But I think it's culture is everything on the music department, and just being willing to serve wherever and whenever. And I know as a music director, and you can imagine in a congregation this size, how many people want to sing a solo. And it's like, it can be, they'll come up to my husband, Brother Erickson, I want to sing this solo. He'll be like, go find my wife. And it's like, thank you for choosing me. No, but it's real easy. It's like, okay, and you will not believe how many times this happens. I'll have people come up to me and say, they want to sing a solo, and they say, oh, that's awesome. I'm going to send you a link to the choir, because that's the music team. And then, as the Lord leads and, you're a part of the team, we'll see what we can do. And, oh, no, I don't want to be in the choir. I just want to sing a solo. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, get back with me when you're ready to join the choir. And then we'll kind of work from there. But the Bible says that our hearts are deceitfully wicked, that we don't even know our own self. And so I have throughout the years have people that continually pressured me after every service. And because we have a choir that sings every service, I can say, hey, sister, you sing and you lead in worship every service. Yeah, but I don't have a mic in my hand. Okay. I had actually somebody tell me that. And I'm like, well, okay. I think, we need to just go back and check our motive. But because we have the choir and they do lead in worship every service, it's something that, and I can say that it's only been maybe a handful of people, which is very nice. Mm-hmm. But I feel like the choir really relieves that pressure off of me as a music director to be able to say, hey, we're leading in worship every service. Right. But that rehearsal administrator is that spokesperson. And you see the position that is on the platform with the monitor world. That has been an amazing addition. How many of you all use in-ear systems in your church? And so while they're amazing, they can be really, really frustrating at the same time. And so we were finding with as many packs that we had that position was necessary. So that technician comes down and he will, kind of be like the Chick-fil-A guy, like, hey, how do you like your order? How do you want your mix? And so we do have that culture. We're very blessed with that. So if you ever have the opportunity or the space to add a monitor world, it is highly encouraged if you use ears, because if that's not done right, it can make everybody frustrated and people's ears be ringing and everything else because it's not mixed correctly. So that is something that we're super, super blessed with. But Brother Nolan, if you will talk to us about our system that trains the next generation and kind of how we make that all happen.
Sure. So through our School of Music, last year, which we're finishing up sign-ups for this year, but last year we probably had 25 drummers. So that's from not knowing how to play, can barely clap on beat, to somebody who can play in services. So how we structured our School of Music is we had 3 teachers, and one of them is our drummer in Sevierville, another drummer here in Maryville, and then myself. And we try to separate our teaching abilities according to the skill set of the student, because we think it's super important to always be teaching. When I was 13 or 14 years old and became the main drummer here in Maryville, immediately started teaching lessons to younger kids. And so it doesn't really matter the skill set. It's important to always start teaching, because if you know a little bit of something about drums, you can teach what you know. I think something important here is that you can, teach what you know, but you can impart who you are. And that's kind of the greatest compliment to me is when one of my drummers get up there that I've taught and I've taught and poured into, and they, a musician would say, "I felt like you were over there." It's like, well, that's, they know how to play, but I've tried to teach them so much that they have the same feel that I do, and I think that's all important. The curriculum that I guess the older drummers that can keep tempo that we use is multi-tracks. We give them a track, and I'll have the drums. I said, I want you to learn this the exact way this guy's playing it. Don't do anything different. And so when they come and they've got that kind of perfected this song, I'll say, all right, I'm going to send you the drums without the track, send you the track without the drums, and I want you to do nothing like the guy's playing. I want you to be creative. I think sometimes multi-tracks are awesome, and they're the crutch that we rely upon sometimes. But it's important to develop skills in them of being having their own personality while playing, and it's not freestyling, but it's to put your own, because your church will respond. Your church might not respond to the way that we'll use our own Apostolic Collective does a song. But if you put your own twist in it, I think that's why it's important to be able to play exactly what's on the track. But then at the end of the day, you put your church's style of music on that track and on that song. So that's kind of the system we use. I think it's very important to always be pouring into future drummers. Matter of fact, that's how I got started. One night when I was 11 or 12, walked into the bedroom. When you got called into our parents' bedroom, you knew you're either in trouble or they had something really. It was never in the middle. You're either awesome or you're going to hell. Next question. So luckily for me,
He would know about that.
Okay.
I never got that kind of talk.
Yeah. Well,
Me either. I don't know what you're talking about.
hey, I'm in the king's chair today. So, so I walked in the bedroom one night, Wednesday night after church, and my parents looked at me and said, "Hey, you're the drummer. You're the main drummer." And I go back to Sister Lauren's point. I remember showing up every Sunday morning in my suit and tie when I was 10 years old, waiting for the bongo boy.
And sweater vest.
Yes, the sweater vest.
That was sad.
I love to see Beckham in those sweaters.
Sad.
So I remember showing up and hoping, this is the first time and probably hopefully the last time that I ever hoped somebody would not show up for church. Because I knew if the bongo guy did not play, I was the guy. He was 3 minutes late, and I got excited, but to see him walk in, I was always devastated. But to wait for that, and then that night, the parents looked at me and said, "You're the drummer." They said, "How do you feel?" I said, "Well, I feel like 1,000 pounds on my shoulder." Super dramatic as a kid. But so how we cultivated that is Sister Erickson we would meet Saturday night before, and we'd go over everything on Sunday. We'd spend hours. Literally hours, and then she would evaluate. Evaluation's important, and she'd evaluate afterwards. This part of the song. I remember the first song I played. I got the 1 and the 3 and the 2 and 4 confused, and she let me know it at the end of service, and that was good for me and helped me correct. And she would help me with when I started later on. I wish I could say this was like 12 or 13, but later on when I would start making a paycheck, somehow I would look at my paycheck at the end of the week, and I would be docked. And then I'd look at the little memo. It said, "Late for practice on Wednesday night. 2 minutes late." I said, "Dear Lord." But it's all good for me. I stand here today. It's good. Somebody that'll look you in the eye and say, "Hey, you did really good tonight." Somebody look you in the eye and said, "Hey, you could have corrected yourself right here." And I think it's very, very important. Those harsh conversations are something that makes you grow. I do have a little video, and please excuse the gloves that I'm wearing. I don't know why I thought this was cool. I was like 14.
You brought a video of yourself? Okay.
This is talking about the importance of pouring in to students. Yes, I'm going to turn my chair around and watch. Hit it, maestro. Let's go. Look at there. Look at that. That big head. I love it. You're lucky your son looks just like me. Both your boys. So that's the culture that we've always had, is just pouring in, seriously just pouring into. And now the same thing that she did with me, meeting early and all those things, getting ready for services. I find myself being the same way with Paris now. Paris her oldest daughter has tremendous piano abilities and leadership skills. And there have been plenty of times me and Flannery were over something with Kids Quest, and we're like, Paris, it's on you. Like it rises or falls at you, and that pressure, that responsibility is so healthy, and we've really seen that just be a good culture. And I hope you see the theme today, especially today, but the importance of multiple services. It's not that we have 8 services, and obviously I want to play, but I don't know if I want to play 8 services. So it's the importance of having drummers to be able to fill those positions, all 8 services, but also the great reward that it is to have multiple services. Multiple people get an opportunity to play. It's not, and you're going to hear this. I hope that God, you hear one message today about the importance of multiple services, that it gives opportunities to people who are coming up. My rush services, we can give somebody who they just learned how to play to a track. They just learned to play with a click, and that's where we're going to put them. But then as they grow and they prove themselves there, they're going to grow up and they're going to play in main services. That's the importance of multiple services. But that's the whole structure of, as soon as you can learn how to play, you start to pour into somebody else. I think it's very important.
And so with our School of Music, and that is also in your resource file, I oversee all the piano students. Now, I physically do not teach everybody, but I get enough instructors in. And so we do get the opportunity to do that during the school day because we have a school. So if you have a school, I will be more than happy to share with you what we use and what we do. But if I didn't have a school, I would still promote having a School of Music at your church. And that could look like maybe 2 music workshops a month, maybe a 3-hour kind of workshop that you can have your senior leadership and your music team pouring into other people. And so that as a music director, that's a huge red flag for me when they're not willing to pour into other people. Because what happens is when you do, let's say Lori Hawkins, she's been a part of this music department for, goodness, I don't even know how many years. How many? 30?
100.
Yeah, I don't know, 30-something, 33 years, 34 years. I can't remember. She's always been there. But she's always been willing to invest in the next generation. So she will get, when it comes time for our competition, we'll put her over girls' trios and different things. And I know, like even Lauren, when you were in school, they would come in and work with those girls' trios on songs that they sang at church. But then she'd be texting me, hey, Sister Erickson, I want my girls' trio to sing our song at church. So it creates that camaraderie, and then you're proud and you treasure that upcoming talent because you're the one that taught them. It's not like, oh, they're coming to take my place. But again, Lori Hawkins, at the core of who she is, she's a disciple maker. She travels and does prison revivals. And so, again, I go back to, at some point in the music whole world, you do kind of start aging out of that. So it is vital that we are first Bible study teachers, disciple makers, involved in some type of soul winning. And I think that is very important. So I oversee piano, going back to our structure. She does the vocals, he does the drums, and then Brother Dakota that you see on the bass, he helps us oversee the bass and guitar part of that. And then we figure out, once we get the sign up in, sometimes we'll have 70 kids sign up, and it is extremely overwhelming, but we somehow make it work. We form group lessons according to their skill levels. But what we use here is piano by ear with Susan Triplett. I'm very proud to say that this upcoming year, I'm going to be writing a new curriculum for piano by ear for kids, and even going to do some piano by ear books for toddlers. And so I'm super excited about that. So pray for me that I can get that out before the next movement. And then he said that he uses multi-tracks as his main way to train the drummers, and we really do the bass players and guitar players the same way. I mean, you just can't beat it. It's a great teacher. And then Sister Hammond, what are you using this year for vocals?
In the past we've used Singing Success by Brett Manning, and there's the warm up and all the exercises. But I just purchased the Cheryl Porter method, and that's what I'm personally going to be using this year, but also teaching with that system. She's incredible.
If you just look her up on Instagram, I mean, like, I'm not a singer, but I want to.
It's just fun. It's fun songs. It's not just like your regular scales, but she makes them into songs, and it's just really cool how she has set that up. But you can purchase that on her website.
Yeah. So, I think we've already kind of covered senior leadership, staying involved, and talk about that for a minute, because you're now, traveling, you're evangelizing a little bit, you're involved in, he's a Kids Quest pastor, so you can imagine, like kind of how you seen him this morning. He was on the drums, then he went to the top of the loft to, get back. Just let's talk about the importance of that.
The one thing that we try to keep a culture of, and really my parents showed this pretty well, they stay involved, because if there's a moment that they know something's not right, they can correct it. It's not like the outside coming in to say, hey, this is not right. They're always involved to say, hey, this is the area that you need to correct. And that's kind of what I try to do with drums. It's crazy. I'm getting old enough where I could say a majority of my life I've played drums for the church. I started when I was 11. I'm 26 years old now. And seeing kind of the do's and don'ts, the reason I stay involved even when I'm not playing is there's two things I hate as musicians, all right? Number one, Sister Erickson said sarcasm. When I say I hate it, I really do mean it. I hate it. It's an abomination in my script, according to my Bible. So there's two things I hate: sarcasm, musicians, because sarcasm, you're trying to be funny, but you're just tearing people down. It's a hard lesson, because you want to be. I'm the guy. I like to joke around and stuff, but my mother-in-law always says, "Fun at someone else's expense is cheap fun." You're tearing someone down to make yourself look good. So I don't like sarcasm. It just ruins the chemistry of the band. Like, for instance, maybe a little pride was coming through the first night. God forgave me for that, hopefully. But the band, when we got to playing, like, we're looking at each other and even, like, not laughing in a disrespectful way, but, like, just how much fun we were having. And I don't think you get that culture when you're sarcasm against the vocals and against each other for hitting a bad note. I mean, I've messed up so many times this week. I hope to God somebody don't make fun of me in the band, because I've messed up a lot. But so sarcasm, number one. Number two, the reason I stay involved is because I hate when musicians are not worshipers. I hate it. All right, it's like we expect to get up there and play, and people respond to us, but then when we're sitting down, we're just looking at them like they're just up there just playing elevator music. I mean, we forgot the true meaning of being a musician. We're a musician up there to worship. I'm not talk about other musicians. Brother Dakota did it last night. There's a part of the song he's not playing. That dude's got his hands lifted up. He's not, go over there, check his in-ear mix, or seeing if the camera's adjusted right, and that's another subject for another time, a video on himself play, but it's all about worship, and I do think, this is just my personal opinion, I don't have any scientific facts for this, but, especially the seat of the drummer, and God help me say this in the right way, but, and I know I make the sisters nervous when I begin to say stuff like this, but, that's why I do think that the drums are a spotlight position. Sometimes they're in the center of the stage. That's because the sound, it can reach everybody equally, which I play electric drums now, so it doesn't matter. But, I do think that's why the lack of worship on the part of musicians are the reason that they backslide. Because, if you're used to playing everything, all the eyes being on you, but how do you respond when the eyes are not on you and they're on somebody else? If you're just sitting there like a sore thumb, not worshiping, we've missed the whole point. So I feel the importance of senior leadership with drummers is I want to show them how I respond to worship without playing drums. And I do feel that's one of the reasons that drummers kind of get out of the thing and they fall away, because sometimes it's all about us. It's not about really the true purpose of giving God worship. I want to worship God with 6 in my hands, and I want to worship God when there's nothing in my hands. Right. I can just lift my hands and lift my voice. I think that's very important.
Amen. And that was so good. Another thing that we really, and everybody's kind of grown up, but I can remember when you and Dakota and Keith and everybody, when we were, 15 years ago, there were days when I felt like the minister of music, and then days where I felt like I was the mom of the music department. But something, and there's been, I can remember a couple times with somebody where we always say, if you don't pray, you don't play. And Pastor Erickson has always said, how can we worship God, a God that we don't pray to, God that we don't pray to? And so how can we get up here and, because we all wake up in our flesh every day, and you cannot do a spiritual thing when you're in your flesh. And so we've always had the motto, you don't pray, you don't play. And I can remember one of our team members, and he was young, and I had reminded him, and obviously give tons of grace. I mean, he talks about me docking his check. I mean, but he had several warnings, and I think it was with tracks, not with being late, but maybe it was being late and tracks. But I had given this person like several warnings, and he would just always be, tinkering with something or doing something. And I went to him and I'm like, hey, why don't you just go sing in the choir tonight, or they were on a lead role, and, it happened one time. But it's proven a point that being spiritually prepared is and he's a phenomenal musician. But as a music director, that's my job, to make sure that we have, people that are bathed in prayer and soaked. And it takes systems. And I talked about that a little bit yesterday, creating those systems to where, we just roll right into prayer from here, and so that's my job. And I have to get more help on that the larger that we grow. So again, updating our systems real quick. Sister Hammond, talk to us about how we are intentional with the multi-generational music department.
Yes. We feel like it's important, if you're going to have a multi-generational music department, you got to make a space for everybody. So we have choirs or something that they can be involved in from pre-K2 to 102. We had a video that went viral of the little man with the cane that they have. We have a preschool choir. They sing like maybe 7 times a year. We have, of course, our youth choir. They'll sing maybe once every month or so. But we have the adult choir. That's where if you sing in the youth choir, you're going to be in the adult choir. Then we also have the Trendsetter choir. And that choir is, a lot of them sing in the adult choir, but there are some who are physically unable to make it up to the loft every week. And so we bring them down to the main stage where they could use their ramps, so that gives them something to be a part of. So there's a space for everybody to be a part, and I think that's how you create that multi-generation. I mean, our young people get out and shout when the older people sing, and it promotes that worship. The kids choir sings. The Holy Ghost has moved when the kids choir has sang before. So I think it's just, celebrate now that we don't put down other types of music. Our church loves literally every style of music, and I think that's super important. And I think we enjoy it. So if your leaders enjoy those types of music, they're going to like it too. So
and some just good old Ann Wilson. Let me tell you about my Jesus. Our church is
they come alive.
I mean, first note. All right, let's let them see the Trendsetter choir. Y'all, these. The look of love on my Savior's face. I want to know how it feels to make my way down the streets of gold. I want to know how it feels. He did a mic drop with his cane. I want to know what it's like to rest my feet by the river of life. I've heard of heaven, and I know that it's real. I want to know how it feels. Awesome. Give our Trendsetter choir a big hand. But, they kept on reprising that song that night, and our young people flooded the altars. It was the most beautiful moment in worship to see all generations come together. Because you know what? There's going to be a day here in about 20, 30 years, I'm going to be asking, would y'all please sing Something Got a Hold of Me? And they're going to be like, oh my gosh, that song is, But there are no songs that are off the table with us. The other night we were singing Something Got a Hold of Me. And then the Spirit was moving. And what did we go into?
Mountain is high, but it's not too steep.
Yes.
And I mean, everyone went nuts. I loved it. I loved
It's
it.
just like, and so you just never know. I mean, we can be in one genre right there and then just totally change the page. But I think it's cool because, you have so many different ages in your congregation. You have so many different personalities. Even if you sat here like with us and my parents, like all of our song choices, if we said like, okay, tonight this would be my favorite song that we sing. Like my dad is going to want I Need Thee. Okay. Pastor Erickson's going to want something, big and minor key and, let everything that has breath praise.
Did y'all hear that Joker's note he hit last night? Dear God. Sorry, go ahead.
Beautiful Jesus. Nolan's going to probably want a rap or something like that. So, it's just we try to offer. And when you have, and I'm going to tell y'all, it is hard work having a choir. Okay? And that's why a lot of people just say, hey, we're going to do the 6 singers and we're going to be done. So many logistics, so much planning has to go into when the kids choir sings. But I have found the best way to transition those groups because it's like not only are we just handing over mics, now it's PACs, it's all the different things. But to have like when the Trendsetter Choir sings, we have praise and worship, we have choir, then we have like a prayer service where people get anointed with oil. So at that transitional point, we'll swap out all the PACs and everything and have, if it's the Trendsetter Choir, they'll sing one song during offering, roll into another. If it's a kids choir, they'll sing, then roll into another. Because those transitional points, and it does take a lot of work, but it is so worth it. When you see, when I look up at the choir, and I don't get to turn around and look at them very often, but I get so emotional because I know that is visual testimonies of all the people that are standing in that loft and what God's done in their life. There's just nothing like, and the devil's going to fight you having a choir and pushing it. And I'm just telling you, it is worth the sacrifice. And even if that just becomes my main job one day when I'm not playing keyboard, and I will just always be involved with the choir because I see the power that it changes in people's lives. I know we're kind of coming down to an end real quick, but I just wanted to talk to you all about apostolic songwriting in close today. And this is a session in and of itself, but really the why that we need to be in the forefront of leading and writing the music. Songs teach our congregation throughout history. Anytime that we want, whether it's our ABCs or anything like that, good teachers put it to music and it just sticks. They sync it with the melody and it just sticks with people throughout generations. It's like, you think about so many songs that your grandmother taught you, your mother taught you and would sing to you. But songs to our congregation, and I guess as a music director, I have to ask, what are we teaching our congregations? We have 30 to 40 minutes every service. And there's a difference between anointing and gifting. And I'm not saying that, obviously, we sing other people's songs that don't have the full truth. I'm not saying that we'll ever get away from that because there are some great songs. Because you can hear it in some of the people that are in the forefront of Christian music. They're coming toward us. You can hear the revelation that's coming out in their songs. And I think that's what attracts us to that music. But only the people that are in this room and in the apostolic movement can write songs that proclaim the exactness of salvation. And I'm telling you, and I feel the Lord right now, but it is not as hard as the enemy wants to make it in our mind, okay? This year, to my knowledge, until Apostolic Collective started, had you ever written a song? Had you ever written a song? Until the Lord totally turned my life upside down. We went through a season where we lost 3 babies, and I went into a deep, I'm just going to be honest with you, my family was praying, everybody was praying. I try to live where I didn't, sin in my life that I knew of. I was pouring myself out before God, and I was grieving so hard. There would be so many meals our family would sit down to eat. My husband would push his plate back, fasting that this would lift. But God was leading me to songwriting, and I ran from it for a long time. I ran from it. And but whenever I started to write songs, that's when I started feeling that lift off of me. But the people who know the truth, who have the name, we are the people that need to be in the forefront of writing songs. And again, I go back to you all have so many songs out now that they just started writing, but I think it's all about how we formulate the groups. And it's not as hard as the enemy wants to make it in our mind when it comes to songwriting. So I just encourage you today, music teams, you all know those songs because only you can write the God songs for your church. But you all know those songs that it's like a good song, but it's just not quite there. You know what I mean? Take that as an opportunity to write a tag to it. And I guess what really like shifted my mind was like I just started looking at like top charting songs. Just look at the lyrics that are laying on the piece of paper. You could write it. You can do it. You know what I'm saying? It's just getting in there and figuring out, okay, what style? That's the biggest thing for me. When I know what vibe I want a song to be, the lyrics for me are pretty simple in formulating those groups. But coming to the table knowing what you want the song to sound like is key. But where we started is tags. So like, my past erased, my name he changed, let's testify. Okay, so I'll tell you where that came from. We were being, our uncle has spent 34 years in prison. And about 5 years ago? 4 or 5 years ago, he was released. And like when I tell you, we went through so much with the media and just hatred that came out. Like, I mean, we put him in the Lord's hands. God knows his heart, whether or not he needed to be released. But I just sat down at the piano one night and I started thinking about my mom and dad are first generation apostolic, you know, and just our family tree and what God has brought us out of and what he saved us from. And so that's when I wrote My Past Erased. And cool little side story about that. The first couple months my uncle was out of prison, we would talk on the phone several times a week. He said, Fallon, he's like, I ran the aisles last night. He said, you need to hear this song. I said, what is it, Uncle Jerry? He said, they were saying my past erased, my name he changed. I was like, oh my gosh, you know. And so he was calling me, telling me he was running the aisles. But it was, it's very simple. And you think, like, I love the song, I'm a friend of God. I'm a friend of God. I'm a friend of God. I am a friend of God. He calls me friend, okay? You all can write that. You all can do that, okay? I can do that. We can do this, okay? But it just shows that when it comes from the right place in your heart, it doesn't have to be anything that's super complicated. It was that song. I'm like, because my mom has told me like my whole life, like, Fallon, you need to write songs. I'm like, Mom, you don't know a lot about music, and you're my mom. You think I can do anything, okay? I can't do that. And you know what I'm saying, though? It's just like, but we can do it. And through the help and the power of the Holy Ghost. So I really believe why the enemy fights the music team so much is because he knows if he can take the talent that's in this room and connect it with the power of the Word of God. So I'm telling you, when you get home on Sunday, get in there, lead people in worship, do whatever you got to do. I know how your brain is mushed when you get done singing. I get that. Peppermint, essential oils, do whatever you got to do to reset yourself. Okay, get in there, get you a Bible, okay, get you a notebook, and I'm going to talk, this is a songbook, I'll talk about this in just a second, but get you a Bible and a notebook and just come. Your pastors are poets and they don't even know it, okay? I'm telling you, there's a song we wrote, You Turn My Pain Into Praise. That was just a hook that came out of you turn my pain into praise. You turn my shame into shouting. You turn over there, and it's just like, then I just started searching for a vibe to sync that with. And, now it's a full song. But if you can get in there and discipline your mind to know the word and to listen, okay? If I was to write, a lot of times what I'll do, the first song I wrote was on surrender, and Dad had taught a Bible lesson on surrender. If I had to get up there and sing a song, what would I sing? So I just started writing for that sermon for the altar service. Obviously, we didn't sing it, but then we went and finished it. So just look at every message. Like last night, I'm redoing and going to modernize the Church Triumphant. There's so many songs in what Brother Ball was preaching last night. And so just go to every sermon. Tonight, we're going to sing We Are Your People. we were teaching up at Calvary Tabernacle, and I was in their prayer room before. There are songs in the prayer room before service. I love just to listen to people pray. And this lady was on the other side of the prayer room at Calvary Tabernacle, and she's like, "We are your people. We're called by your name." And I'm like, "Won't you come down, God, and have your way?" Okay. And then I got a little idea on the music I was watching Zootopia with my girls, and so the vibe kind of came from there. Don't tell anybody. But anyway, so you know what I'm saying? So we can do it, and we need to just have a whole songwriting session. But songbooks, triumphant song this morning is Heaven's Jubilee. Some glad morning we shall see Jesus in the air. Okay, or is that it? Some glad morning we shall see. Okay, so that's public domain. Brother Micah, stand up. Okay, this guy is such a blessing to Apostolic Collective. He helps us with all of our copyrights and what we can use and what we can't use and requesting rights. He's the man. Give him a hand. He helps us with the whole business side of Collective. But real quick, I know I'm so over. If you can put that title up for apostolicmusic.com. And so this is a music subscription. And what we have several songs on there. Our library, Brother Asa, do you know how many songs we have in our library now? Is it 40-ish, maybe? Okay. And most all are written by Apostolic Collective. It's everything from just church music, choir music, to kids music, to Spanish music. We have even added, if you want to go ahead and play that demo video too, we're starting to add these kind of soundtracks on there as well, where your kids choir can just sing with us. These lyric videos, you can play them on your screens at church. So we're adding that. You're going to see the kids choir sing today, but this is all material that our songwriters have written. This is a Easter song. So we want to teach them. It's not about the bunny. All right? But it appeals to the kids. All right, so I'm super excited about that. Can you just show them a demo real quick of the website, just so they can see inside Apostolic Music? And so all the stems are on here. We have soprano, alto, tenor part helps, the lyrics, the chord charts, the multi-track stems. And we really, really work hard to make our stems where they just fall right into prime, fall right into Ableton, whatever it is that you're using. And so we put out new songs. All access membership. Praise opens King of Victory. We're going to do that one tonight. That's a new song. Plus one, you're going to hear the kids choir. It's out on iTunes, Sounding Sweeter. We Are Your People. We have like shout loops, every different tempos. And so we're just continually dropping resources on there. And it's at a very affordable price at $29.95 per month. Brother Erickson's in here. We've been talking about him. He's right back there. Hey, babe. I love you. But tell me if you buy the media, if the churches buy the media from the movement, is this included in it? Is that right? Okay. So if you subscribe to the annual subscription on here for the whole year, the movement resources from this week, all the classes, like this wonderful class that we just did, it's going to be on there, and everything but the pastors and wives only session will be on there. So you'll get all that plus a year subscription to this. Does that sound good? All right. Love you all. I hope you all enjoyed today. We enjoyed being with you all.